I'll look at staff. Ken and Rob, are you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's do it. Does that sound check okay? Okay. Good evening, welcome to the Independence City Council meeting. It's Tuesday, December 12th, 2023 at 6:30 in the evening. Let the record show councilors are here except for Councilor Morton, who is excused. You have in front of you the minutes from November 28th, and do they meet with your approval?
Second.
Motion is second by Martin Willis. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Motion carries. Thank you very much. As we go into visitor comments, we remind everybody that might be on the owl tonight that visitor and public comments, they are for 3 minutes. Council listens. We don't respond. This is just a one-way communication, people speaking to us. Our person wanting to speak tonight is Ann Scheck from Telemark News out of Salem, Oregon. Good evening, Ms. Scheck.
Good evening. Can you hear me, councilors?
Yes.
Good evening, councilors. Happy holidays. I'm Ann Scheck from Telemark News and Publishing. I just wanted to say that I was happy to see the agenda tonight that Karen shared with me. It has figures that match those I came up with myself after the work session last week, which were different than those provided. And in my attempt to check those, I was not just ignored, I was denied confirmation. So I'm glad I looked pretty close. I just wanted to tell you that we have a media policy. I've time-stamped it, and it gives a period of time in which to answer a rather short period of time media requests. And so I think you have 3 things before you. You can either drop the idea of this media policy, you can amend it, or you can abide by it. But I think those are the 3 choices open to you. And in keeping with your city manager's reminder that policies are your decision, I'd like to point out it is an external policy, and I'll put it in the record. Thanks, and again, happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you very much. Moving forward, we have a staff presentation from Natasha Adams, the museum director. Good evening, welcome to council.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Let's see.
You're good.
Okay. I have a PowerPoint that Karen is gonna magically make up here.
Sorry. I always have challenges with this when
It's the elves.
I have Zoom too, so I'm sorry. It's that time of year, isn't it, Mayor? It's definitely helps. And since we have a break while Karen's pulling that up, I'm going to remind all of my council to be sure to hit the button when you speak.
Just politely saying I should push my button when I'm not speaking too.
Okay. Good evening. I am here today. I'm wearing, I think, 3 hats. So it's kind of a kill 3 birds with 1 stone. I'm here to tell you about the Hoppet Heritage Festival, which is an event that IDA puts on, and I'm the chair of IDA. And then the Ghost Walk, which is a museum event, and then Santa Train, which is an Elks event. Which button is it, Karen?
Next slide, please.
Between the elves and the Russians.
Here. Well, that's gonna be super complicated if you have to push the button. Okay, so the reason I'm here to tell you about all of them is because in some form, shape, or another, the museum is involved with all 3 of the things I'm gonna share with you. You're gonna have to push the button again.
Just point at me,
Okay. And then one more time. this is what I get for doing fancy things. Okay, so the Hopin Heritage Festival, as y'all know, has been a part of Independence for a very long time. It started in the 1880s when we were the hop capital of the world, and it was a way to celebrate not just hop harvest, but really the coming together of all these folks that came to pick hops. And as mechanization happened, the festival died down, and then in 2001, it was brought back. And over that course of the time, it's been huge, all the way from having hot air balloons and fireworks and tractor pulls to a block party. And so post-COVID, it was a block party, and this year was the first year that we brought it back to being a street festival. I think you can hit the button here. So there are a couple of things that we did this year that were new. We had over 20 volunteers helping with this festival, which, as we all know, I think is a feat in and of itself. We had a lot of folks who were willing to give a little bit of time in what they were really good at, and that all culminated into the festival. We did a lot of marketing this year, from flyers to Facebook. We love doing our posters since it celebrates hops and beer. We put posters in local establishments to advertise. We had banners, and we had quite a bit of press as well. So we also had a title sponsor, which was the Coleman Hops, and their sponsorship really sort of kick-started our ability to raise a lot of money to be able to put the festival together. We had our inaugural cornhole tournament, which was a lot of fun. And then something that we brought back was the Heritage Stage. So this we actually put at the end of C Street. So C Street was closed the entire way from the museum down to the roundabout. And the Heritage Stage was a place where we wanted to celebrate different parts of our community. So we had a home brewing demonstration. We had an old tractor there with it was a crank start tractor that he was there starting it up. We brought the pot eating competition back. We had the VIP Strings did a performance. And where we placed this, of course, was important as well because it was right by the museum. Go ahead. And then we had our vendors. So we had over 65 vendors for this, which was really great. Someone gave us the idea to put the vendors in the middle, back to back, and that allowed the storefronts to remain visible. And the local business owners really did say they saw an uptick during Hopin Heritage, which is part of why we do it. One of the things that was new this year is we made the Taylor's Soda Garden. So, of course, we have the beer garden, but we named both the beer garden and the soda garden after historic establishments. So the Hi-Ho, which is now the Golden Hop, was the beer garden, and then we had Taylor's Soda Garden because Oregon actually is really good at making soda, and we wanted a place where families felt really welcome and really set it up very similarly. The kids got to go in and have little tasters of soda, and it really was a nice way to honor Taylor's. And anecdotally, one of the family members happened to be there, and we had the little table tents about the history of it, and they were just tickled. So it was a really nice new addition. And we also had quite a bit of entertainment. Ida paid for the music at Brew that day because they're right by the soda garden. You can go ahead. We created our map, and we made sure the Coleman Hops had what they called the Aroma Dome out at Parallel 45, where they had lots of different hops so people could smell them and learn about them. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, it's throwing me that I don't have my clicker. We also bought some new merchandise. So there's an example there of the posters that we created, some of our marketing material. Go ahead, Karen. We did, of course, really want to push the history. So like the Hi-Ho Beer Garden had a panel that talked about the business. Go ahead. And then we created stickers and other merchandise that we sold at the information table. Okay, so the city also was instrumental in helping with the Hoppin Heritage Festival, from having someone there to help us with the garbage and setting things up, which really helps us. Brands donated the dumpsters. We did have lower folks attend than we had hoped. And I like to think it's because there were 3 home football games that day, which was really rough. And then, of course, Oktoberfest always falls on that weekend, but it always falls on that weekend. So I was really encouraged by the amount of folks that were volunteering to put this together. We made a profit, which is used for next year's festival, and we are excited to do that again and start planning in March. So that's Hoppin Heritage. Okay, now the Ghost Walk. So the Ghost Walk is an event that I'm sure you all know about. It's been around for 20 years. It is now a museum event. Go ahead. So this year, we did a little bit of updating to our marketing. Go ahead, Karen. And again, it was a museum event, but it happens downtown. And we wanted to make sure that people knew where the museum was, because that's still an issue for us. So we gave away free glow sticks. So that meant we had over 500 people walk through our doors the night of Ghost Walk, which is great. Many of whom actually walked around the whole museum and mentioned they didn't know it was there. So that was a good trick. And glow sticks are cheap, so it worked. Go ahead. When it came to marketing, the Ghost Walk had a lot of organic marketing this year. We got a ton of press, which is amazing. Emmanuel made some really great videos that were really fun on Facebook, and people loved them. And we believe we had over 2,000 people attend, which is amazing, but also that's a lot of people to be downtown. And so we've already started talking about what things can we do to either extend it in some way or change the format so that if we have that many people show up again, it's a little bit more user-friendly. It also was an amazingly beautiful day that day, but I like to think it's because of all the great marketing. We'll see. Okay, go ahead, next one. Okay, so Santa Train, really I can only speak to it from the museum's perspective. Go ahead. I did attend some of the planning meetings, but I was definitely late to the party. But the reason it's important to the museum is because they moved the location this year, and they closed down C Street, and the train was parked at the top of C Street, literally next to the museum. And so the museum really played a big part in helping provide restrooms, which sounds crazy, but they were there. And the Heritage Society had a booth to help promote the museum. And that day, we had over 480 people walk through our door. Okay, and then I would be remiss if I'm up here to not give you a couple updates about the museum. So we currently have a small exhibit. We have mini exhibits that come every 2 months that our curator Amy makes for us. The current one is about Palms to Pines, which is a women's air race that actually started in Independence. So if you want to learn more about that, you should come visit. And then we were closed the week after Thanksgiving, which allowed us to do some really deep cleaning. Also, note to self, don't do the deep cleaning before Santa Train and 500 people come through your door. But as for the archives, Amy spent that whole week continuing to work. She's really doing a fantastic job getting things organized. We had some museum professionals from a couple of regional museums come visit, and they were just in awe of our archives and how organized they are. We don't have a backlog, and so that really is kudos to her and how she manages the volunteers that help her back there. Go ahead, Karen. One of the other things I wanted to let you know about is, I think, really exciting. I mentioned before that we work with the Easter Seals, and they come and work with us for 20 hours a week, and they've been scanning, just scanning and scanning. Well, it turns out that we actually have newspapers that others don't. And the University of Oregon has a Historic Oregon Newspapers program, which is online. And we told them which papers we have and have scanned in, and they do not have those. So I think it's really exciting that our museum is going to be able to provide these to the university, which will then make them available to the world. And it's because we had them, and it also helps put Independence history out there a little bit more. We currently have the Confronting Violence exhibit, which is on loan to us from the National Library of Medicine. It is in English and Spanish. It's kind of a heavy topic, but it is really informative, and I encourage you to come visit. And then in January is our second annual Youth Art Show in partnership with the Community Services Consortium, which is always fun. The students make art, and not only do we teach them how to display it, but they have the opportunity to sell it. So we talk about a little entrepreneurial spirit, and also how do you actually price something that you think is awesome that others maybe think is okay. So, and then because I just have to, I can't help myself, so far this year alone, we've had 6,384 visitors through our door, which means since we opened last April, we've had over 9,100 people come to the museum, and we've had over 3,000 volunteer hours this year alone, which is amazing. And I'm really grateful for all the work that our volunteers do. I am happy to answer any questions about all the things and wear different hats if you have any. Yes?
I think it's great we have these events that bring visitors to town. It's certainly important for who we are and how we want to engage with our regional community. But I would like going forward to get some real assurances from businesses, particularly on C Street, that they've had the opportunity to weigh in before decisions made to close C Street. Not all of them have time to attend meetings, not all of them can join IDA or the chamber or those sorts of things, and the vast majority of our handicap parking is on C Street, and that's a huge issue. So
Yes.
my understanding is the Elks just closed it. They didn't really have any conversations with people. They just walked around and said, we're closing C Street.
I've heard different things, so I don't really feel comfortable answering.
This is December. This is a huge time for businesses.
I understand, and I think, and personally, I feel pretty strongly that Santa Train is such, it's not about bringing visitors to town, it's about providing a holiday spirit to our neighbors and friends that maybe can't otherwise. And it's a time where folks get to meet Santa and potentially get the only Christmas gift they get that day. And I know that closing it is hard.
I absolutely agree, but.
And again, I wasn't in charge of it, so.
We don't have to close C Street to do that, though. That's my thought.
Okay.
Thank you. Additional questions?
Just to tag on to what Shannon was saying, it is a great event to have downtown. We did hear informally from some of the business owners where the impact of taking away C Street parking specifically can really harm the businesses that are trying to stay open for the shopping. So I maybe encouraging looking at, again, the movie theater parking lot where there was ample parking, and maybe that wouldn't be such an impact to the business owners and still let that event go on.
Sure, I will pass along the message.
Council Road.
I've lived here a long time, and one of my most favorite memories as a kid who went to IES was going to the museum. And so when I went and visited the museum, I just think it's absolutely lovely and beautiful, and you've done a great job, and Amy's done a great job, and I thank you for what you've been doing.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Ms. West, I think it's you for the city manager report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Natasha. Okay, so much of this you have heard. As you know, I just like to get this out here so that our community can hear what we've got going on. So, first of all, we received an update on the Gun Club Hoffman Road project, and Polk County will be advertising either next week or the following week, with construction still slated to finish before the next school year. I was gonna talk about what we have going on at the museum and encourage everybody to go, but I think Natasha beat me to that. So I'm just gonna encourage everyone to go. And the Palms to Pine mini exhibit created by Amy Christensen is worth seeing. So take a minute if you can and go to that. Another thing I'd like to encourage you to take a look at is if you go out to YouTube and you Google Youth Codingly,
you will see a video of our Youth Coding League. It is amazing what our kids have done. The Youth Coding League was previously only teams that are run through schools or other community organizations, like the Boys and Girls Club. But because of the grant that the Indie Idea Hub received, our Independence Library was the first library in the country to offer this program. And our kids did great. They really, really, really did great. Now they're talking about applying for a grant. The Youth Coding League director is talking about applying for a grant from the National Science Foundation that would fund these teams in public libraries. And we started that. So we'll be writing a brief letter of collaboration. And I just want to give kudos to our library director, Patrick Wadley, and our counselor, Schwarzer, for the work that they did. And then I also want to let you know that there will be an article coming out in the Statesman Journal. The great working relationship that our communications director has formed with the professional reporters at the Statesman Journal has really created us an opportunity to get our information out there. This is a really good example. They took pictures and interviews yesterday, so we should be seeing this wonderful press coming out soon. I'm pretty excited to see it because these kids worked so hard and they just did a great job. Going back to Public Works, C Street Sewer and bulk bill number 4 go out for bid tomorrow. So we're still moving forward pretty darn quickly on our 20+ capital improvement projects. A little bit of bad news from Public Works. Our backhoe broke down again. We thought we had it fixed. It didn't get fixed. We were trying to pick up the yard debris piles and it broke. So there's a supply chain issue, and the part that we require, we just don't know when or if we can get it. The backhoe's getting close to its end of life, so the leaf pickup program is going to remain on hold until either we can get that part or our great team can find an alternative. We are looking for alternatives. We just don't know if we can get it done, so it's going to remain on hiatus. Our communications director did push that out, so hopefully our community can pick up that information and know that it's on hiatus because of broken equipment. Also, talking about our communications director, he began working with Polk County Fire District number 1 this week as a part of the IGA between Polk Fire and the city. This is a symbiotic relationship. Manuel's great. Polk County realized he's great. He can help that jurisdiction to get emergency information out to our community. We serve the same community, and having him assist them is going to really help get the information out to help everyone that we serve and that they serve. And then on to something fun. Have you seen Glow? If you haven't seen Glow, go see Glow. It's beautiful. And note there are a couple of new light displays. These were paid for by local sponsors, and they're beautiful. And most of those sponsors want to be anonymous, but I want to say right here, huge thanks to those folks that donated to the wonderful lighting display. Our community loves it. It's beautiful. Thank you. And finally, just a couple of dates to get on your calendar. December 25th, City Hall will be closed for the holiday. December 26th, the City Council meeting is canceled. Don't show up. We won't be here. January 1st is the New Year's Day holiday. January 9th is a work session, a City Council meeting, and then January 23rd is a City Council meeting. And that's it, Council.
Great. Is anybody jumping up with a question? Okay, gonna move forward with councilors. At your desk, you have a copy from U.S. Senator Bob Kerrey with an announcement. Casey, I'm sorry. Let me tell you the backstory here. I was contacted by Congresswoman Salinas' office, and the Rural Partnership and Prosperity Act is a bipartisan, bicameral piece of legislation that is being introduced in Congress. And Congresswoman Salinas has been asked to introduce it on the House side. You know, you run it both sides so that it gets a chance to get passed this year, well, in this session of Congress. So we've been asked if we support this, and it is about providing support for rural communities to help rural communities get federal funds and resources to our community. As I said, this is bipartisan and bicameral, it's going in both sides. We've been asked if we would say that we support the concepts. I said I'd bring it to council. I recommend it, and after consulting with staff, they are in the same boat. So unless there's objection, I'm gonna put this council saying that we support the concepts represented in this document and help move that forward so that rural communities like us can get the resources we need from the federal government, and they won't just talk to big dogs. Sound okay, folks?
I don't have enough information on this.
I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, I mean, I was just giving.
I understand, and this,
Can we just table it for the next one?
there's a time constraint that they would like, and I feel very confident, and I know I've talked to staff about this, and we're supporting the concept. This is not there's nothing sneaky in here. This is just supporting helping rural communities, and it's both a Republican and a Democratic effort, and so moving it forward. And so I'd love to be able to say that we as a council support the concept of rural partnership program grants, rural prosperity technical assistance grants, and helping making sure the federal government talks to us and helps moving that forward. Okay?
I know that speaking for the region and this community specifically, that we have received federal funding that was rural set aside. And it does help make us more competitive to make sure that there is funding available specifically to rural communities that might have a harder time competing against some of the larger communities. And so programs like this have been very beneficial for some of the work that I have seen with the economic development, and I think
It can also fill gaps.
Sure.
For that kind of stuff too. I mean, we've got some money, but it can maybe fill a gap that we need filled.
And we still need to apply for it, right? It's not just.
This is just getting the federal government on board to, folks, talk to rural communities. Do you realize the federal government thinks rural communities start at 50,000? I mean, unless that's pretty big. So anyway, if I asked for a wee bit of trust here, and as I presented, is it?
I just have great hesitancy on agreeing to something that I don't have the background to, so I don't mind taking a step back from this.
I'll just say, I mean, this is something that, I wholeheartedly agree with in concept. I sat in a meeting where the topic of discussion was precisely that, the difficulty of rural communities accessing federal funds that are available, that there are these myriads of grants, but then it's a challenge with, limited staff and, person hours to dedicate to that, to be able to access those funds. So anything I think that we can support to help facilitate and accelerate that process it's a win-win for smaller communities.
Well, I just want to clarify, I'm in total support of supporting rural communities and engagement. I'm not in support of jumping in the deep end on grants that is just another word for federal tax dollars that could possibly be spent unwisely. So I don't feel comfortable agreeing to this without knowing more information about it. So.
Any other people? Everybody else?
I mean, I agree, I don't know what it is.
Well,
I think if it was that important, we probably would have had it earlier on, and
okay.
I don't know what it is either.
Come again?
I don't know what the Rural Partnership and Prosperity Act of 2023 is.
It's proposed, go ahead.
So I can comment a little bit, I don't know if it will help, Counselor. It's not uncommon for these things to come out with a relatively short timeline. Legislation moves quickly, and that's why the mayor brought it on a short timeline. We suffer, like other small rural communities. We're fortunate we have Marshall, and he's done a great job for us. My prior city, getting federal grants is hard. There's a lot of paperwork, there are pages and pages, and this, as the mayor explained, this is a joint
agreed upon partnership to try and get that funding down to the rural communities.
And is it meant to streamline the process too?
There is a lot of streamlining that they want to do. And another thing that's been talked about is they would like to get grant writers, funded grant writers, into areas, into COGS and other areas.
We've seen the benefit of that.
We have seen the benefit of that, most definitely. So, and I don't know if that helps any at all, Counselor.
I mean, is this how the grant, like, this act, is this the wording of the act?
No.
No.
So I've never even seen the act, and I have to say, you want me to say tonight that I absolutely support this, but I don't even know what it is. I mean, I hear what you're saying, hear what everyone's saying. I've never read it. I think it's funny to put this in front of us and say, do we all agree to this? Trust us. Maybe I do. Maybe I absolutely think it's fantastic. I don't know.
It's just a timing thing, Counselor.
Okay.
It's a timing thing.
All right, I'll see what I
I
can.
mean, is this gonna pass or not pass tonight? And then
There are a couple
if
of
we don't do
options.
it, we can't get these grants.
The mayor can always do a letter just from the mayor.
Yeah, I'll take care of it that
It
way.
can be either from the mayor as the mayor, or it can be from the full council.
Or could we vote?
It can
Well,
certainly be both.
Yeah,
We don't know if it passes.
well, and we can, I'll see if I can get anything better for you later on. Sorry about the short timeline. I got it short, and we don't have a meeting at the end of the month, so that's why I put it in front of you. I'll move forward on it on my own. Thank you. Under other reports, I do want to draw attention to something that I had a chance to visit Wells with the chair, the president of the League of Oregon Cities, and also the executive director. And I know many of you already know that Kenna has been appointed as the chair of the Taxation and Finance Committee for the League of Oregon Cities. That is a big deal. And she's not going to crow much about it. She'll just say, I was appointed to be chair of the committee. But with the league taking a look at statewide taxation issues, the fact that Kenna was selected amongst all the city managers and all the elected officials in Oregon to chair that important committee is kudos to her. So I offer those public kudos at this point, and you're in for some big issues, so have a nice time.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm very excited.
There you go. I'm glad you're excited. Other things that I want to report that I was doing, I had the opportunity to speak at the WOU tree lighting ceremony a while back. As many of you also did, went down to the Santa train, and it was fun, talking to all sorts of people. Several of you, Councilor Jobe and Councilor Schwartzler, and I also had the opportunity to be here for the new swearing in of the new police officers, and it was great to visit with them and their families, and their extended family to be. And so that was good. Had the opportunity and attended the YMCA holiday party and fundraiser this last Friday. And as you know, I'm involved with Y activities, and I had the opportunity to be the auctioneer at that event, and we raised some good money. Yesterday I attended the Oregon Business Summit, which that's a big deal, and had the opportunity to attend over a number of years. And here are some of the takeaways that happened and I think are relevant to folks. The governor and the Speaker of the House, President of the Senate, and many others talked about the coming revisions to ballot measure 110. Everybody agrees that the state needs to implement a statewide ban on public drug use, and the state doing that is in a much better position to do that than municipalities. There are also discussions of education. I got a chance to speak and schedule, or at least open the door for a number of state and federal agencies and leading business folks to come and visit and learn more about independence, and that it's talking to as many people as you can there, is there. And we talked about a number of different projects, the challenges of Measure 5 and 50, and I'll tell you, I heard from a number of other cities that are facing the same Measure 5 and 50 challenges. Also, one of the issues that came up that I just want to highlight for folks is that childcare, the issue of childcare as an economic issue in the state. It's making a real difference to a number of businesses. It's about employee retention. It's about life and livability. So childcare is becoming a huge issue statewide, and I know that that was one of the things in our 2040 plan that we looked at. So anyway, I just wanted to let everybody know that good activity, and we've had some success in the past of having federal and state agencies and others come and visit our community and learn about what we're doing, what our needs are, and where we can, and then what we've done here are examples to other cities around the state. So anyway, with that, I'll be quiet. And now we're going to go to, we have an executive session, so I have a script I'm supposed to read.
So may I ask a very quick question?
Sure.
I'm assuming in your reference to childcare and how it affects employment, what we're really discussing is a lack of childcare
Yes.
in the state of Oregon.
Thank you for
And
clarifying.
specifically, our county is a childcare desert.
As in, I think most of the counties in the state are, and it's a significant, thank you for making, I sometimes forget to put all the,
Yes.
thank you. Okay, the Independent City Council will now meet in executive session for the purpose of negotiating real property transactions pursuant to ORS 192-6602E. Immediately following, the City Council will meet in executive session for the purpose of conferring with the City Attorney. The executive session is held pursuant to ORS 192-6602H, which allows the Council to meet in executive session. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive sessions. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive sessions, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision will be made in the executive session. This time, the council will adjourn to the third floor conference room for the duration of both executive sessions. Once both executive sessions have adjourned, we will return to open session in the council chambers, and any decisions from either executive session will be deliberated at this time. Okay, up the elevator and we go to the large conference room upstairs. Thank you. And you might want to
excited to see them open on Mondays.
Yes, closing on Wednesdays.
Ready? We're back in session. Thanks, everybody. Chief Mason, you're going to carry the liquor license approval.
I am, thank you, Mayor, Council. La Cazuela Restaurant, located at 286 Main Street, has made application to the city for a full on-premise commercial liquor license. That will allow them to serve malt beverages, wine, and cider by the drink on premises. Sergeant Cole conducted a background check of the owners and applicants and found no items of concern, and he recommends approval of the application.
Questions for the staff? Seeing none, this is an action item.
I recommend approval of the liquor license application for La Cazuela Restaurant LLC.
Second.
I have a motion second by Joe. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much. Mr. Moody, I think it's to you.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you. I want to do liquor licenses from now on. I trust this will be every bit as exciting as all of the fun and magic going on at the Heritage Museum as well. So, what you have in your packet this evening is, the first thing was the revised statement of the outstanding debt. I wanted to thank Councilor Schwartzler for your question at our last meeting that helped us look into that a little bit more deeper, as well as thanking Chief Mason for forwarding some additional information that allowed us to update this and correct it for you. So moving on to the staff report and the resolutions with respect to the interfund loans. So again, going through those interfund loans gave us the opportunity to do some of those housekeeping things that we talked about at the work session, and the resolutions that are before you tonight are the result of that conversation. Really all we're doing here is formalizing, standardizing some of the backup that goes with those documents. Nothing will change regardless of your actions this evening with respect to those interfund loans. This is stuff that's been done before. These loans have been outstanding for some time. We're just trying to provide that formalization in terms of resolutions that should have always been there. Again, no change in process or operations. They're supposed to have a resolution supporting them, so that's what we're trying to do, is provide them. Administrative burden of having to try and track the LGIP rate year over year, and we haven't been doing that in the past, so we're going to just go ahead and lock those in at 0.5%. A number of those loans will be done in the next year or two anyway. With that, I'd entertain any questions that council might have.
Great.
I actually have a lot to say. I had to write it out so I don't misspeak or do anything wrong, so bear with me, I'm sorry. Transparency is key and something that has been talked about a lot when it comes to the City of Independence. I think we can all agree that transparency is one of the most important things to have when it comes to local government or any type of government. I do want to say how much I appreciate the work Gerald has done, as well as Kenna and Rob and the rest of the finance department. We are being asked to vote on some resolutions here tonight from the 2017, 2018, and 2018-2019 fiscal years. I was not on the city council at the time, neither were many of you up here tonight. Since that time, we now have a new city council, a new public works director, a temporary budget director, a new city manager, a new budget committee, and so on. I have tried to ask questions and get clarification, and I am very concerned because I do not feel the questions were answered. In the spirit of transparency, I have the following questions and comments. In January of 2017, an auditor stood before you and stated that to the city council and mayor that the budget issues in the city had were the urban renewal project fund, the water fund overspend, and MINET. She stated that we need to address this with the state of Oregon, although I admit I don't know if it was addressed or how. When pressed by the mayor, she stated we were okay, but she warned that we could have issues in the future as soon as 3 years from then, in 2020. I'm not sure if the mayor, Councilor Morton, and Councilor Martin Willis remember the meeting with the auditor. In our May 2023 budget meeting, it was mentioned by the city manager that COVID relief ARPA funds were actually what hid some of our financial problems at first. Even though we had been warned for many years that the issues are here and are not new, they're just coming to light for the public. I have been told this issue is not just an issue for independents, but for most of Oregon. I'm not surprised by that. City leaders here and around the state routinely gather to talk and glean information and best practices from each other, and so it is no surprise that they are all having the same budget crisis issues throughout Oregon. These problems in independence did not happen overnight. I do want to state that I am happy that they are changing and that we are trying to do the right thing now. However, we must understand what happened in order to learn and not repeat history. On September 25th, 2023, I requested a one-page report on all loans transfers to and from the general fund. They asked for dates, amounts, interest rates, terms, including when it was due and how much. On September 26, 2023, the city manager responded that they are actually working on a work session for the council on interfund loans. Over 2 months later, on November 28, 2023, this council met for a work session regarding outstanding debt and interfund loans analysis and summary. Two glaring issues for me were the Civic Center debt was not represented in this provided document, and that the Minnet debt was now being represented as between $18 and $19 million. Councilor Morton even noted half of the $36 million debt was Minnet, and that they were now paying. This was a positive thing. Unfortunately, the math was incorrect. The issues were noted and were going to be investigated. On November 30th, we received an email from the city manager stating the financial consultant staff looked into my questions and had a response. Finance staff reanalyzed debt details and documents and compared them to the financial statement information currently under audit. I'm not sure if it was a formal audit, but audit. They noted that there was mischaracterization on 2 of the bond issuances on the schedule provided to council, specifically regarding Minnet and the Civic Center. The Civic Center was actually $10,760,000 and Minnet was only $8,395,000. Although on a side note, Minnet debt as of July 2023, including the consolidated note receivable, is $12,569,870. Every time I've asked a question, I've repeatedly been advised that the finance department is understaffed. Once we were even told if we require more information, a full-time staff may need to be hired. That to me shows how messy the independent city budget and budget practices have been throughout the years. I do appreciate the important work they are doing, but I just mentioned a $10,760,000 error. I feel questions are valid and should not be discouraged with this type of warning. I represent the people of Independence and here to ask questions. Tonight we are being asked to pass a resolution from 2017-2018 fiscal year along with 2 others. There was no record of this $3,867,234 interfund loan from the general fund to the urban renewal fund. Specifically, there was no record it was previously authorized by a previous city council. I was not on the city council then, neither were several current city council members. I have been advised by the city manager that our city attorney has reviewed and approved the resolutions and that she herself as an experienced city manager and an attorney has approved the resolutions. This was acknowledged because I wanted to know if what happened in 2017 was legal, and if it was legal for me to vote on this tonight. I still do not know. I don't know what the nearly $3.9 million transfer was for, but transferring nearly $3.9 million from the general fund is a big deal, especially with budget cuts now and losing Ramon and library staff and services. Can anyone tell me what the $3.9 million in the general fund came from? Was it just normal funds, or was there an infusion into the general fund from somewhere? This transfer was not listed in the 2021-2022 fiscal year budget under interfund capital loans, outstanding from 2017 to 2018 fiscal year. I was confused by this. I did more digging because I could not get the answers, or at least one that made sense to me. Finally, it made sense. I believe that the nearly $3.9 million loan was a transfer back in 2017-2018. That is why it didn't show up as a loan. The city council never voted on it. There was no meeting minutes, just nothing. There was no resolution to it. We are now saying it was intended to be a loan, doing a resolution, assigning a payment schedule and interest rate to begin in the 2023-2024 fiscal year. Is the reason we are doing this because we need to find a way to get money from urban renewal into the general fund? I have no idea If that was the intention back in 2017, it is my opinion this creative accounting is what got us into this position in the first place. At this point, I think a public apology is warranted for the budget handling and practices by all those who have been part of this. We are moving forward with better practices, but the people of Independence want accountability and transparency. They deserve a clear explanation as to some of the contributing factors to why their water bill is so high, why their taxes are increasing, why Ramon isn't here, why the library is not fully staffed and open on Saturdays. Going retroactive 6 or 7 years to correct a mismanagement, mistake, or simply poor choice with the budget is a clear indication something has not been right for a long time. I am not an expert, but I am concerned with the people of Independence, and I think they deserve an apology and transparency. And I'm sorry, I got really nervous and I had a lot to say.
You. There's some questions.
Are you gonna answer a question?
I have questions in there. I highlighted my questions so that I remember them.
No, and fair enough, and the question about providing the additional information, we are working on that.
Is there a reason why you didn't provide that to city staff morning for the?
I literally wrote it out today. I was trying to, Ken and I have an email. So I was trying to get answers and stuff, and I honestly, it looked like it was difficult for me to put it all together. There's so much I don't understand and so much that has happened. I wasn't here. Some of you were, some of you were being silent on when the questions are asked, you know, like, I don't know what happened in 2017. Anybody here in 2017 remember what happened? Want to talk about it?
Yeah.
So we
Ken
are.
wasn't here in 2017.
I was not here in
She was trying to,
2017. So a couple of things. The finance side is understaffed. And I think the response was that it would just take time for us to get the answers because they are.
I asked you this at the end of September.
Let's go one at a time, let's let her finish, and then.
And they're working on that, and that was the work session in November. It is in response to the council's request that we go through the interfund loans and the debts. They can only work as fast as they can work. In 2017 and 2018, you know, these activities have been going on. So I think Rob clarified that the payments are there, right? I mean, there's, please
So,
pull me out of this.
so the Urban Renewal Agency, Urban Renewal is a financing tool, right? So Urban Renewal needed money to do the projects. So rather than go out and borrow or issue debt to get that money to do the projects, it borrowed it from the general fund.
Instead of doing it as a loan, it was a transfer.
It was recorded as a transfer in that year.
Is that because we were tapped out with the percentage we could do as loans?
I don't believe so. We've always been well below we're below the legal limits. Now, the other thing that drives how much debt you can issue is obviously your ability to repay it, right? Your ability to service that.
Let's go ahead and let her finish.
So the money that was borrowed then from the general fund, the records that we have, which there isn't a lot, but what we've been able to piece together is that this year, 23-24, is the first year that was slated for beginning repayment of that particular loan. And so that's where we're at. We've started that process. That's why you didn't see it budgeted in terms of any debt service last year.
But like something like this, it wasn't even listed on this. This is our 2021-2022 interfund capital loans outstanding. 2017, 2018 wasn't even there. So this was my confusion because I'm looking for this loan that we have, and there was no loan.
And I understand your confusion,
It was never approved by city council. There are no city council minutes. There's nothing, and this is what I'm saying, why we need to apologize is because we haven't handled it correctly.
But I think at the work session you said, we don't know if it was approved by council because there's no paperwork.
That's
It may very well have been approved by council, they just don't have the paperwork.
Karen, you scoured through the minutes.
Karen did a search of the minutes, but that I'm not gonna say she read everything. She did a search of minutes. We used search coding to look for it, to look for the resolutions, to look for particular wording, but she did not read every single set of minutes from 2017 forward.
Right.
She did
I
a
think
reasonable
some of it has to
search.
In order to ascertain that.
Right. Again, we can't allocate Karen to read every single one, because these funds never left the city. They didn't go to Joe Smith. These
Right.
funds went from one agency in the city to another to continue to serve our community. It's not like these funds went from the water fund to Joe's Market. These are in the city. This is simply
Apologies to Joe.
Apologies to Joe. It's simply housekeeping so that we have a trail. So when I die or quit, or Rob dies or quits, that the next one in line knows. So there's not another council that doesn't know and another city manager that has to go through this.
Are we going through every single transfer and turning it into a loan, or is it just this one?
I don't believe that there are any other loans that are mischaracterized as transfers. We have both, okay, in the normal course of business. We have operational transfers every year in the budget and that are done every year between funds, whether it's to reimburse the general fund for services provided or to move money from the SDC fund into the water fund to pay for projects, et cetera.
Councilor Roden, you have a question.
So long before City Manager West got here, I expressed concerns about our budget and where money was going and how we lacked transparency. I was called uneducated, uninformed, unaware, essentially stupid. But I think all my concerns have now come to fruition, that we're trying to now sort everything out. My question is, how, you're telling us that we're supposed to characterize this as a loan based on what was intended. How can we as a council vote on what the intentions were from the 2017, 2018 city council, which 3 of us, maybe 4, I'm not sure if Shannon Grover's on it, but was even on the council.
And first of all, I understand and respect your sentiment. The loans that we're looking at here have been scheduled for repayment. Some of them have had repayments begin already, and that's what led us to understand that they were intended to be loans.
So what
And urban renewal, I apologize, urban renewal, typically the way urban renewal works, because it's a financing tool, you don't just transfer money into urban renewal and they spend it. It's meant to borrow money, do projects, and then pay the loans back. That's the legal structure for urban renewal.
But it's usually not paid for by the general fund. It's usually, well, I mean, it is, but it's paid for by increasing our tax base.
So it borrows money from in this case, borrows money from the general fund, does the project. Then as the property values increase, that tax increment comes into the urban renewal agency and is used to repay the loans. Yes.
So you could fund an urban renewal agency multiple ways, right? And one of the ways is the loan, this $3 million loan.
So what we're being asked for tonight is we're not changing any dollars and cents. All we're doing is categorizing and creating a more firm paper trail, establishing a unified interest rate, and the benefit from all this, besides a good paper trail, is also that it's less staff time to have to figure individual funds on the
LGIP, yes.
Yeah, so that's what we're being asked to do. We're not changing anything other than making clean paper trail. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
There's questions? This is an action item, folks, and we have several actions. And if someone would like to recommend or move, excuse me. This is on page 17, then we do 19, and then we do.
I think it starts on 16.
Motions are on page 16, thank you. And if someone would so care to.
I move to adopt resolution number 23-1593, authorizing interfund loans for fiscal year 2017 through 18.
Second.
I have a motion second by Martin Willis. Discussion.
I would just like to say that my desire to create more work for staff is not as important to me as making sure we get the details right. So for me, I'd rather invest time into transparency and making sure we're doing the right thing by the community than to not overburden staff.
Understood.
Okay, discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed.
Nay.
I have 2 noes, and I have 1 no by absence. That makes it 3-3, correct, Karen?
Well, you have to declare her negative by absence.
That's what I just said,
Okay.
negative by absence. So that's 3-3, I get to vote, I vote yes. Motion carries. Let's go to the next one, please.
I move to adopt resolution 23-1594, authorizing interfund loans for FY 2018-2019.
Motion,
Second.
second by Schwartzler. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Nay.
I have 2, so I have 3 yes, 2 no. Counselor Morton's position is no by absence, that makes it 3-3. That means I get to vote, I vote yes, motion carries.
I move to adopt resolution number 23-1595, amending prior resolutions for stated interest rates on interfund loans.
And I think that's 231594.
No, it's not.
No,
I just read that one.
1595.
She's right.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's my mistake, I read the wrong one, so that's a motion, and Counselor Kerr, was that a second?
That was a second.
Second, discussion?
I just want to say that, Rob, as we approach the budget cycle this year, we obviously want to see more detail than we've seen previously and some good traceability back and forth so that we can intelligently speak to folks about what's going on. I don't have any concerns that anything nefarious has happened. I just think we've been in a position where maybe not everybody's eyes are on the prize.
Understood, thank you.
And I would just like to say that I promise to never be a city councilor that doesn't try to look at everything before I vote on it. I do my best to make sure I have the best information possible. I will never publicly state that I will read what's in a declaration after we pass it. So.
Thank you, Counselor.
I'd like to add that I really appreciate the efforts of current staff to put into place best accounting practices, and this is the reason why we are tracking things to help avoid this in the future. So I think the work that we're doing now will hopefully prevent this from happening, and I think that's time well spent. And I really do appreciate cleaning this up and stating, I agree with Shannon, Councilor Kaur, that I don't feel that anything nefarious or anything has been trying to be covered up or done improperly. I think it's just unfortunate lack of best practices at times or attention to detail that has gotten us to this position, but I feel good about moving forward and cleaning this up and getting back on the track.
Counselor Schwartzler, you encapsulated much more eloquently than I might have, but I'm thinking some of the same things. And things moved from one place to another. The paperwork didn't necessarily support all of it, but good things have happened for our community. We're not moving what we're doing tonight doesn't change the numbers, just changes the paperwork line. So unless there's,
Mr. Mayor, just please for a moment, because I want to say, I guess partially in response to Councilor Joe, that I was a first-year counselor back in 2017, and had been on budget committee prior to that, and I just want to say that due to the work done by our finance team, the documents that we now receive and the work that is being done are so far superior to the 2017 budget documents that we got. We essentially got and hundreds of pages of Excel spreadsheet with very little look back. And since that time, we've been getting added columns that actually give us look backs on prior year budget, so that we actually now have comparative tools. So I just want to say that there has, since the time of, these accounting issues, there have been substantial improvements in the tools that we as a council have. And so things have begun to come to light. So thank you for your work and making our jobs easier and allowing us to better serve our community.
Well spoken, as we mature in the city.
Mayor, if I may, it's
Please.
unusual, but if I may. Council, when I came in, one of the things you asked me is to make the budget more clear, to give you these interfund loans, to provide you with this information. I'm doing exactly what you asked of me. Rob's doing exactly what you asked. Thank you, Council, for asking us to bring you what you need to make decisions for the future of the community.
Okay. Without objection, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, I have 3 yes and 2 no. And again, the vacancy means a no by absence. That makes it 3-3. I get to vote yes. Motion carries.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson. Building fees. We'll have staff report, then if there's any public comment, and then we'll move forward from there. Please, Karen.
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. I'm here to bring for your consideration changes to the building department fees. This has been a very long process. The building department has been run on a manual basis, and we are required by law to be fully digital and online by January 1st of 1 year from January 1st. So this is part of the process to get us in line and be able to have a lot more availability to our builders in the community on getting building permit fees processed. This will the fees that we are adopting will be in a schedule that will align with the state's schedule, so that way it will work seamlessly with their program. This will also help us be able to have a lot more accuracy as far as finding building permits. People often want to know, well, was there ever a building permit issued back in 1972, and we may or may not have those records, but having these all processed digitally, we will have that available for them. Because our building department fees were part of the city code, and it said that we adopted fees per the state of Oregon schedule. The state of Oregon doesn't have a formal schedule anymore, so the first thing that we're asking council to do is to change the ordinance that council will adopt fees by resolution. And then if you pass that tonight, then we can pass the resolution amending the fees. And the building official did go through the fees and looked at what needed to be increased and what new fees we might need. And many of them were left the same. So if you have any further questions, that just about sums it up.
Question for the presenter.
Who's the building official?
Jeff Kennedy?
What is it says a 4% technology fee, 4% of what figure?
4%, I believe, of is it the entire?
Total permit.
The total of the building permit.
Were you okay? Okay. This is an ordinance. So on page 24, we have a series of things that need to be done. Is that okay? Is there any questions? Everybody okay? All right. Someone would.
If the council is okay with it, I'll go back to my
Yes,
station.
that's fine. Thank you, Karen. Appreciate it. Somebody wanna do that? Page 24.
I move to read the proposed ordinance, Council Bill number 2023-07 in full as the text is contained in the council packet for the first time.
Motion,
Second.
second by Cord, discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
An ordinance amending Independence Municipal Code, Chapter 6, Buildings and Construction, Article 1, in general, Section 6.6, fees.
Next motion, please.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I move to read the proposed ordinance, Council Bill number 2023-07 for the second time by title only.
Motion,
Second?
second by Martin Willis. Discussion, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, motion carries.
An ordinance amending Independence Municipal Code, Chapter 6, Buildings and Construction, Article 1, in general, Section 6-6, fees.
Final one, please.
I move to adopt the proposed ordinance, Council Bill number 2023-07.
Second?
Motion, second by Joe. Discussion, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, motion carries.
The ordinance as passed and is assigned ordinance number 1612.
There is, now that we get into the adopting the fees as presented, if someone would like to make that motion, please.
I move to approve resolution number 23-1592, adopting fees for the Independence Building Code.
A motion,
Second?
the second, discussion. Appreciate the work that's gone into this.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
I did.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much. General council announcements, anybody has anything special they need to share? Okay, I just want to take a moment, and since this is our last meeting in December, I just want to say thank you for all of you for your service. You know, nobody's getting paid to do this. You're all doing this to make our community better. Our conversations are helping. We continue to move this city forward. And I want to say thank you to all of you. I also want to wish all of you a happy holiday season. Since we're not having a day after Christmas meeting, I just want to wish all of you a wonderful holiday season with your family, with your friends, with your neighbors. And I look forward, as we go forward into the next year, as we continue to make steps to make our community an even better place at the end of Eden's Gate. And so with that, I declare the meeting adjourned. Have a pleasant day.
My turn. And I love your time.
And